G20 dialogue we are currently organizing, and I can tell you we have done several of them, are essential moments for business for sure, but also I hope for the G20 presidency to share priorities and objectives, and also to help each other preparing adequately for the challenges and opportunities of the next decade. The Digital Transformation Task Force is, in our view, a central working group to achieve this objective. We all know how important technology and innovation will be to put people, planet, and prosperity, the priorities of the Italian G20, at the center.
We started thinking about the starting point, where we are in the digital transition in this moment, and we considered that it's not about only digital transformation, but there are also other three transformations that we have to consider. One is the ecological environment, sustainability. The third one is demographic, and the number four is education. It's about skills. So the four transitions, the four transformations together imply that we are in this moment facing a huge cultural transformation. But of course, technology is important, but cannot be considered the end state. Technology is just here to shape our networks, our infrastructures, our platforms, our products. But in the end, what we need is the right human capital, the right human equity, in order to make sure that together, technology, and in particular digital technology, plus human capital, can really prepare the floor for all the innovation that will have an exponential development in the next years.
There's no point in you kind of listening to my own remarks, which will be absolutely aligned with everything that has been said by Emma and Maximo. It's much more important that I hear from you your suggestions, and that's why I'm here. 4 challenges concerning the digital transformation, and you all covered them. The main one is clearly the infrastructural one. We need to be committed to network reach, connection quality, and inclusiveness, and that's a capex and a big operational challenge for all of us. The second is the trust that has been mentioned also in the introductory speeches. Trust in 2 directions, trust among market operators and trust between market operators and citizens or consumers. The third challenge is, again, it has been mentioned, the private-public cooperation. We need to here have, as governments, we need to find the right balance between, on one hand, public intervention, especially important now that we have the next-gen EU funds, and private choices on the other hand. And we need to be sure that the objective is to foster long-term growth without displacing private investment, but integrating public investment with private one. And the fourth is the one that Maximo has mentioned so well in his opening comments, the one of, let's call it, knowledge and competencies, which we need on one hand to create, but most importantly also to nurture in order to have a digital-ready society on one hand and workforce on the other.
I believe connectivity is a fundamental in meeting the G20's objective on people, prosperity, and planet. And if we start with people, it's quite clear that the COVID-19 has placed the digital divide in sharp focus. And digital is today critical to help people in remote places to access being employment, being healthcare, being educational opportunities. Investments in the digital, or call it in the network, cannot wait. And basically that will slow down all other efforts to digitalize society.
We believe that digitalization is broad. It needs to be inclusive, and it needs to cover not only the new technology industries, but in particular also the more traditional industries. It is of vital importance that the governments focus on long-term public involvement to further stimulate R&D in new technologies, be it artificial intelligence, big data, quantum computing. All of this will drive the need for more digitalization and will help us and to succeed with the digital transformation. We need more investment in both the private and the public sector, and that a closer cooperation between both private and public sector is needed to meet this big challenge of our time.
I'm a strong believer that the digital age is the golden age for MSMEs, offering vast opportunities and possibilities for MSMEs across all industries. Meanwhile, the digital tool is a perfect solution in addressing inequity and creating an equal environment for MSMEs, achieving inclusive prosperity. Particularly in this crisis, digital tools have never been more important than ever.
I want to focus on a very timely and relevant aspect of the recommendation this year, which is digital inclusion. As we've seen, the COVID-19 crisis has shown how rapidly citizens and businesses have adopted digital tools, creating new expectations of service. We've certainly seen this in retail, and Minister, no doubt this is also true for government services. It's clear at this point that digital tools are not automatically inclusive. They can either help us build back from the current crisis, or they can actually exacerbate exclusion.
Digitization is being alleged to displace people, to take jobs away from people, and to really replace people by machines, by AI, whatever means. And I think, one of the key elements is to ensure that people don't see technology as a threat, but as a great enabler. But in order to be an enabler, technology and technology skills need to be taught. And one of the key efforts to be undertaken by governments, but also the private sector, is really to bring technology to children, starting in kindergarten, in schools, also vocational schools, and then to the young people in universities, colleges.
Digital technologies will, after all, be indispensable to the social and economic rebound from COVID. What better example than the minister's appointment to chair Italy's task force on reopening the economy? Digital transformation offers as many opportunities for government as it does for business. Here in the UK, there's a lively debate on this, given citizens' growing expectations that they can have the same access to public services as they do to consumer services via their smartphones. The Commission for Smart Government recently published a powerful report on how that could be done in Whitehall. The BT is a strategic supplier to government, also thinking about design principles for future public services.
A sustainable future is not a nice to have, it must be our key priority and focus. The role of private companies like Nokia is crucial. Despite the pandemic, for instance, in Italy, we worked hard to keep people connected, to keep people working even if remotely in our research and development labs. We have also promoted activities focused on digital literacy and fostering STEM skills for students, especially young girls.
The issue of the awareness, right, in technology, and the issue on the awareness on how can we utilize technology and digital technologies in terms of real cases for implementation. And that's why one thing that we noticed the moment we started working within the task force in setting up and deciding that what the priorities should have been. We created the first step of what I call something that I think is going to be relevant for everyone. It's just a collection of different use cases coming from different industries, in particular 10 industries, and all the most important domains in terms of technology. And just to understand for each one of these combinations, what are the most important use cases that are, again, not just minimum viable products or experimentations, but something that is already in place, something that is being used by companies in this precise moment, from agriculture to manufacturing. So we decided, okay, these are the rules of engagement. We need to have practical examples, something that we can be explained in a very simple way, because the audience is quite broad. It's not just entrepreneurs, it's not just business leaders, but again, we are talking about institutions, organizations, governments, countries.
Thank you all. It's been very interesting to listen to you. Thank you for the ideas that you have shared. What we need is actions, and concrete suggestions. So I really praise the B20. I hope I'm sure the next B20 will build on it. We'll try to look at it, to use it, to spread it. And frankly, it's also what I'm trying to do next week at the G20 side, to really push for this culture of sharing, that's been mentioned also by several of you, sharing best practices, trying not to reinvent the wheel, also as governments to go fast and to work on state-of-the-art best practices. And, at the end of the day, we're trying to do exactly the same thing everybody.